So coming off of the previous chapter, we saw Saitama talking to his new neighbors in the Class A apartments of the Hero Association, and they were basically trying to haze him, I suppose. And the first chance that Forte got to challenge Saitama to like a fight to, I guess, prove his dominance, he took. And as they're about to take it outside, we come to the beginning of this chapter where we see Saitama running back into Black S and Rover. And Black S is like, hey, please don't leave me outside. I swear I'll make myself useful, boss. And he decides to make a wager with Forte. And he's like, hey, if we're gonna fight, how about loser takes care of these guys? And Forte agrees. But then he also sees that, like, you know, they're weird, and Black S starts acting like a monkey again. And it seems like the only sensible one here is Butterfly DX, because he's like, you sure this isn't some kind of monster? It's not dangerous, is it? And I think this might be like the purpose of this group here, because they're like oddly prevalent. Like, they're gonna be around for a while, coming in and out of the story. So I guess it's just so that they take care of Black S and Rover, because I'm sure you've seen that Black S is very similar to a character from Mob Psycho 100. So I assume that they're gonna wind up having very similar arcs ultimately. But we cut to Saitama taking on Forte, and we found out in the previous chapter that Forte fights using like rhythm by listening to music. But considering that he can't hear anything since he's wearing headphones, he winds up getting hit by a car. And this is like classic one writing. But it turns out that he was hit by the Blizzard group, because we saw in the previous chapter that they were driving somewhere where they thought they were going to have to get violent. And it turns out that they were coming to the Hero Association. So then we see Fubuki and Saitama meet up again. They haven't talked in a long time. I can't even remember the last time that they talked, but they have some small talk, and then we're cutting to the underground parking lot underneath the Hero Association, and we see this new guy who we haven't seen before, and he's wearing like this Joker-y mask. When I say new, I mean he's like new, like he's not even in the webcomic, and he's like meeting with some Hero Association higher-ups, I assume, but he's also an Esper, because he has like this psychic energy coming off of him, so much so that it's like making Fubuki nervous. And then she asks Saitama to come with them, but they head into the Hero Association, and they're going towards the special internment facility. And once they get there, they find out that the person they're trying to visit is being visited by someone else, and that they're actually going to be transferred afterwards, and they're basically getting denied entry. And Fubuki's like, no, you got to stop the current visitation. This is an emergency. And then we cut to the person they're trying to see, and it turns out that it's friggin' Psychos. So yeah, Psychos is being contained by the Hero Association here, and this is interesting because we haven't seen her for a very long time. Like, I think the last time we saw her when she was like observing the first round of Cosmic Fear Garo versus Saitama. And then after that, we kind of didn't see her again. So one thing led to another, and she wound up being contained by the Hero Association here. I mean, we're going to find out how it happened at the end of the chapter, but for now, we don't really know. But she's being visited by this Joker mask guy. And he says that according to our surveillance data, this individual was able to fight on ground with Tatsumaki. And this makes sense because when Psychos was like in Sairochi mode fighting against Tatsumaki, it was being like broadcasted on the news. It makes sense that he would have this data. And he goes on to say that she's like a valuable specimen, and that he appreciates the Hero Association providing her to them. And they're like, oh, you know, we've been short on funding lately, so we can't thank you enough for such a large transaction. We've already stripped her of all of her human rights by certifying her as a monster, so you're free to conduct whatever experiments you wish.
But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Ridge Wallet. So guys, I know a lot of you probably don't have the best wallet game right now, but that's where Ridge comes in. Ridge makes these awesome minimalistic slim wallets that also have RFID blocking. This is the matte black titanium version. So the Ridge Wallet holds up to 12 cards, and they easily slide in just like this. It's so smooth, and it has a little notch at the bottom to bring them out even smoother. It also has a cash strap on the back, easily put in your cash, and it stays secure. But Ridge also has key holders. Just like the Ridge Wallet, this thing has a nice weight to it, super sturdy. This is the gunmetal version, and it just holds my keys like a dream, guys. I love this thing so much. It even holds my gym membership, which is awesome. But aside from what I have, they also have over 30 colors and styles, including carbon fiber and burnt titanium. The wallets also have over 50,000 five-star reviews. So guys, if you're interested in getting yourself a Ridge wallet and a key holder, check out the link in the description or go to ridge.com/Big Z, because right now you're going to be able to save up to 40% through December 22nd. So again, that's ridge.com/Big Z. Thanks, guys.
So this is interesting, right? It goes more into like the corruption of the Hero Association, something that has been lingering in the background of the story, like how they do a lot of shady business behind the scenes. I mean, this was more so touched on in like one of the bonus chapters from a long time ago. Like Metal Knight discovered that they had like this underground monster trafficking ring thing going on, where they were selling off like parts of monsters and stuff to like the highest bidder. Monsters that were like captured by Metal Knight for experimentation and research. And Metal Knight cracked down on it, you know, good guy Metal Knight. But like I said, this just goes more into the corrupt side of the Hero Association, which will be explored more in these next upcoming chapters. But it's like they're going so far as to where they're just straight up like trafficking people here. But the Joker mask guy who's buying her says that for us Tsukuyomi, this sample will no doubt bring about a great leap forward in our research. So this Tsukuyomi group is brand new, not in the webcomic, never heard about them before. But when Psychos hears this, she like wakes up and goes like goblin mode on this guy. But he produces like a barrier and shields against her, and then like knocks her out with like a psychic bullet or something. And this is crazy impressive because we know that Psychos is pretty powerful. I mean, obviously she's not Sairochi level, but by herself, she was designated dragon level. So I guess this guy is at minimum dragon himself, right? But he's like, now, this would all be for naught if we ended up damaging your precious brain, because here within the third eye we've heard so much about lies the secret into seeing the future. We'll perform a very thorough craniotomy on her back at the lab. All right, so a lot to go in here. I'm just going to speculate about what I think is going on. Again, this is all new, not spoiling anything, but I think that this guy and the group Tsukuyomi that he's tied to might be the group that we saw take Tatsumaki when she was a kid, that was also experimenting on that monster thing, and also was implied to have a cube, because we saw that when Blast saved Tatsumaki back in the day, he had a cube in his hand, and I'm assuming that he went to that facility to get the cube. So that might mean that this guy is aware of the cube, and also maybe aware of God, because, you know, he says research, and he's going after Psychos, and she's an Esper, and craniotomy and all that stuff, but aside from that, he also says the third eye lies the secret to seeing into the future. So this is probably going to be fully explained in the next chapter, but I'll just say for now that third eye, seeing into the future, think back to like season 1, when there was another character who could see into the future. A very important character who still has ramifications on the story to this day. It is all connected, but we'll talk about it in the next chapter review. But anyway, we're cutting back to Fubuki and Saitama taking the elevator seemingly down to where Psychos is. And as they're coming down, Fubuki is having like this flashback to like moments after Garo ran away after his fight with Saitama was over. And it turns out that Psychos wasn't too far away from that. And we see Fubuki finding her amongst the rubble. And this is like the big moment where they're finally coming face to face with each other, because they apparently have a history. They've known each other because they went to high school together. And Psychos resents Fubuki because when she was 17 and her powers were allegedly about to surpass Fubuki's, Fubuki then sealed Psychos' powers. Now, how she did this, I don't know, with some Espery stuff, but according to this sequence, she did it in some extra special way. I mean, take from this what you will. But Psychos is like, when I was about to rise to the top of the world, you're going to stand in my way again? And Fubuki's like, that's right, I was a self-centered person. Back when you proposed the Society for Supernatural Research Exterminates Humanity plan, the people around me said things like, that's inhumane. The vice president lost her mind. But for me, all I could think was, once I surpassed my sister and stood at the top of the world, there would be no point in being at the top if nobody else was there. So yeah, this goes back to who Fubuki originally was before we saw her have tons of character development, because even if you go back to like when we first get introduced to her, she was very different than how she is now. And, you know, that was more blossoming in high school. And of course, a lot of it has to do with her upbringing and also the way that Tatsumaki treated her. But the whole thing about Psychos being all crazy here, the whole Society for Supernatural Research Exterminates Humanity plan, obviously that is like the beginning of what the Monster Association eventually became. And we're going to find out probably in the next chapter how she came to manifest this plan, because it just didn't happen out of nowhere. Like, there's a trigger that caused Psychos to become all crazy and unhinged like this. But this led them to having beef, or more so Fubuki having beef with Psychos. And then we come back to them fighting, and Psychos is like launching all of these like spiked rock boulders things at her. And they have like this clash, and we come to the very end of the chapter where they're about to just face off. Like, it's going to be Fubuki versus Psychos coming into the next chapter. And on paper, Psychos should just destroy her, right? Because like I said, Psychos designated as a dragon. Fubuki, you know, B-class hero, although she could deflect some of Rover's blasts, which is like maybe her best feat. But it's like, at this point, just take your bets, and you know, we'll see what happens in the next chapter. But let me know what you thought about this one in the comments, guys. And if you liked the video, please give it a like, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.